We're back and sober.
We're so we're so back and so sober. We're lighting some incense. We've got a rose wand for cleansing because we're so spiritual, as you know from watching the last episode. But I don't know how to read tarot still, so it's about it.
We are on episode 18. We're finally of age.
Bro, we're crushing it. Maybe we should have a drink to celebrate.
No longer sober. No, we're drinking kombucha because we're so woke.
That's the addiction that I will say I have is like kombucha, coconut water, all the sweet things that are under the banner of healthy sweet. That's my addiction.
That's your addiction.
I'm so addicted.
But also we're like trying to get really cool and like hippie-like because we're moving up north.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of like sprinkled some of those ideas through, but it's officially decided now. We're moving up north.
Yep.
Sydney, you gonna miss me? You gonna fucking miss me?
Yes, myself, Alpha, and Tim are all moving north. Alpha is possibly going to live with us in the Northern Rivers or going to go to the Gold Coast.
Yeah, I'm still feeling into that. You know, if anyone follows me on socials, you'll know that I've had a bit of a mythological relationship with the Gold Coast. Queensland was always like my happy place. It was like when I was a kid, my dad would always, like, if we had family problems, and if he was stressed out, he would always get really agitated and he'd be like, we should just sell the house and move to Queensland. Except in his Indonesian accent, you know, he'd be like, we just moved to Queensland, you know. And that came off the back of one family holiday that we had in Queensland that was really happy. And so for me, it's always like stuck in my head as like Queensland is the place where it's sunny. It's a place that we'll be happy. Why do we fucking stay in Sydney and suffer? We're so dysfunctional because we're in Sydney. So for years it's been coming, and finally this week or last week, it just felt like, yeah, it's time. It's time to go. I can't keep waiting, you know, for the right moment. The moment is now.
It's so fascinating watching the way it evolves. So since we went up, I've been wanting to move back to the Northern Rivers for ages, and then I got in a relationship with Tim. So then
That's right.
I was like, I'm going to stay and feel this out. But when we went up there on tour of Atlas for Open World, I was just like, hey Tim, just letting you know this is your trial of figuring out if we're moving up, because we're moving up.
Wow.
And he fell in love with the Northern Rivers, and just the way it all sort of, just on Friday, the day you decided, was even his roommate over in Coogee, where he lives, was like, oh yeah, like I'm moving to the Central Coast. I've got a place I'm going to look at on Monday. So like the energy of just and then we came home from there and came here, and you're like, guys, I'm moving to Queensland. We're like, all right, obviously today is a very big sign of everyone is ready to move. It's happening. And just like, you know, I lived in Byron for on and off for maybe 3 or 4 years. And it's just always been like, it became a home to me. It's like more home than Sydney, more home than Jervis Bay where I grew up. It like, whenever I'm there, I feel at home.
Yeah, I know that feeling. It's so funny because I love Byron, you know, like I love our community up there, and I've had huge spiritual initiations and, you know, and ritual there that have just like changed me, shaped me, you know, made me who I am. But I don't get the home feeling other than in the Gold Coast. It's so fucking weird. It's so weird, right? Because like when I was doing the Remember tour, which was last year in January before the world fucking crashed and burned, I was in the Gold Coast, even though the show was in, I think it was in the Gold Coast. Fuck, I can't even remember. But there was a show up north. And I was staying with a friend of mine, and I went to the beach, and I was just so fucking happy. I was so free. I felt like, yeah, like I'm so happy here. I couldn't explain it. I think I did a live about it. It's something about, and it's, I don't know, because like it's not the trashy area like, you know, the casino or surfers or whatever. It's just something about maybe the land there. I don't know what it is, but it always has called me, and it just felt impossible. It was like, I can't live here. And then this week I was like, well, yes, you fucking can if you want to.
Yeah.
And it's actually that's the same week, last week, as Tim's flatmate is having her revelation. So my lover is also like, oh, I'm moving too. So it's
moving
like
to Melbourne.
Yeah, and that was one of the reasons as well, you know, having someone here that I'm in relationship with, and then being like, you're gone. What the fuck am I gonna do here? Like, not that they're the only person or the only reason to stay, but it was just like the energy of change was thick. In the air last year. A lot of ties just went snip, 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 snip. Let's do it.
I like the idea of you living up there. Like, obviously, I prefer you live with us. But
do you though?
Yeah.
That's something that like we haven't even really spoken about, you know, because I know that you want to move there to live with Tim and like be in Byron community, but you guys are progressing to the next stage of your relationship, you know. So I don't know whether that's something that's going to be insular or...
No, if we have, like, of course we want to have our time, you know, in a relationship, but I just know, like, with you, we're both really comfortable with you. If we get the right house that's big enough, I don't want to be on top of one another.
Yeah, fuck that.
Like, something like here, where it's pretty big. But, like, you know, I feel like we can be 100% ourselves around you. Like, our intimacy doesn't make you uncomfortable. I'm sure if we were having sex in the backyard, it wouldn't matter, and you'd be like, "Hey, do you want me to take some photos for you?"
Hard out. I so would.
You know, like that. It's not in any way like that. Our relationship would be making you uncomfortable, which therefore makes us not feel uncomfortable. This is me. I don't know what Tim's views are on that, but. Yeah, like, and just for me, because something I want to bring up there, because something I'm going to miss is, like, the, like, Sydney arts, queer culture, and, like, if you are living with us, that's, like, a foundation that we can have in that house. And obviously I can hold that still, but, like, obviously if you're there, that gets to continue on.
Cool. Okay. Look, this is something to definitely feel into for me, because I think I kind of felt like, in all honesty, I knew you were moving, and when I moved into this place, Cult Mansion, I was like, it's only a temporary thing, and I didn't know what I was going to do after. It was like, cool, all I know is right now, this is what feels right. I'll move into Cult Mansion for a few months and then see, like, after that, because I knew you were going. I still didn't think it was possible for me to leave Sydney.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I guess I also had a little bit of like, trigger warning vulnerability. I had a little bit of like, you know, okay, rewind selector for a moment. When we were dating, or even before we were dating, right? So this is like going way back into God Queen House. There was that time where you wanted to move to Cairns.
Yes.
Remember?
Yes.
And it was the middle of winter and it was fucking freezing.
Yeah.
We were both miserable.
Yes, we were both depressed. Yes.
We were depressed as fuck. And you were like, I think I want to move to Cairns. And it was that moment I was like, oh, ow, that's going to be really fucking sad if you move to Cairns. And then we ended up doing a whole process on it. And then you didn't end up going to Cairns, right?
No.
And so like this time I was like, okay, you're going to move away from Sydney. I'm going to be here. I'm going to have like one friend left in Sydney who I can't even fucking see anymore. I was so like, this is shit. But I kind of felt like, I don't know. I just kind of felt like you wouldn't want me to come up with you. That was the feeling that I had.
So many times I've known from the start that you're coming up. But like, she's not staying in Sydney. She thinks she is. She thinks she's going to get a nice apartment or something and live this certain life. But I know deep down that, you were coming up.
That's so
whether you lived
funny.
with us or not, I knew you were coming up. Like, I just knew it was time that...
That's so funny.
You're coming up. Yeah, the whole time. I'm
Wow.
like, every time you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Because I keep saying, are you coming up north with us?
I don't
and
know.
you kept going, oh, I don't know. And I could tell that you also were feeling like, do you really want me to come though? But
Well, you know that's my bullshit
yeah, that's
story.
your bullshit. That's why I didn't care. I was like, whatever, you're moving up anyway. Yeah.
That's so funny. Look, you know, for those of you who know me a little bit, you'll know that is one of my big wounds is like, my friends don't care about me. I'm so insignificant, blah, blah, blah. It does, you know, sometimes make things a bit unnecessarily messy emotionally for no fucking reason. But yeah, it was that conversation I had with Atlas, and he was just like, you know that this is the most expansive decision. Like, always choose the one that's scary and exciting. It's like, you can't just fucking stay in your comfort zone forever if you do want to grow, and you can't keep thinking about like, well, what would have happened if I'd moved?
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Just imagining what kind of happiness would exist in a different reality, and then not living it when you totally can.
Because that's often the thing you say is like, oh, what would my life be like if I lived up
100%.
in Queensland or Byron or whatever? And you're someone that's in Australia. The only place you've lived is Sydney.
Totally. It's ridiculous. It's so, well, because I think it was 2014 when I was in the thick of some of my spiritual awakenings. Like, there's been many stages, but this one was like, I had some friends up in the Northern Rivers. We'd go to Seven Sisters Festival down in Victoria, and like, which led to this thing, which led to that. But it was like, you know, when you're first having your spiritual awakenings and you're just constantly getting downloads, and I would be in Sydney in the corporate music world being like, fuck, this is not me anymore. I can't live this reality. I have to move. And there was a moment of real clear, just a moment of clarity. And I was like, I'm going to move. I'm going to move to Northern Rivers. I'm going to do it. And then for whatever fucking bullshit excuse reason, I didn't at that time. And it was like a real missed opportunity, because River was still at the age where I could just bring him with me.
Yeah.
And it would be fine, you know, because we just, you know, we'd finished our world tour traveling around the world, and it was okay. But I missed that window. And this is like the second window that I have. So I'm not going to miss this one.
Nah. Yeah. And just something within me, like, you know, with all the restrictions that's going on, all that's happening, you know, having a dog, blah, 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 things, it's not meant to be an easy move, but there's just something in my body that's like, so easy, you know, like I already feel the place I live in there.
Cool.
I just know it's all going to happen, you know, it's going to cost a bit, blah, blah, blah. It feels like, oh no, it's going to stretch me financially, blah, 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 but still within me, I'm like, it's just easy. It feels so easy, you know? And like this house that we're living in right now was not easy for me to get. Like, it took so much. I fucking busted my bladder. I almost moved the day before another house we were meant to move in with the truck.
It was
booked.
hugely dramatic.
Everything went wrong. Everything fucking went wrong. But it's such a fucking perfect place. But yeah, next feels super easy.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, a couple of things come to mind for me. I think this year, I don't know about you, but this year I've really been focusing on just having a healthy nervous system. You know, I've really prioritized the things that I know I need to feel like at ease, because I know that I don't do very well with stress. As soon as like I've got too much on my plate and I stress out, everything starts falling down. And I think a big, you know, it's like, which one comes first? I don't know. It's like, is it because I'm more at ease, I've been able to make more money, or is it because I have more money, I'm more at ease? I don't know which way it is. But this year, like, you know, paying more rent than I've ever paid, and living alone, and yet not having a single week where I couldn't pay rent. It was like totally easy, and always having surplus in my bank. Like, that has been the biggest fucking flex for me. And I think that's partly the reason why I feel like, fuck it, I can move to Queensland, you know? And you probably feel similarly. It's like when you have that security, that baseline, like resources, and you know that your body can handle it, everything feels so much fucking easier. I know it sounds, I don't know, maybe for those of you who have shit around money or whatever, it might feel a bit triggering, but I fucking love having money in the bank.
Oh, yeah. One thing I'm like curious about, you know, moving up and now having this quite a solid community, because last time I lived up there, no one lived up in Byron. Then I was up there, and then when I left, lots of people started moving up there. I'm like, hey, what the fuck? Dane lived up there, and James, but that was it. But I'm very curious to know, because of to my perception and bits and pieces of what the community up there have shared with us, is like people like you and I being in Sydney and being in the arts world that we're in. We are a bit of a like arts like community unicorn, you know.
Yeah, for
we're
sure.
unicorns, and then when we go up there, do we lose a bit of our magical powers, you know? And
We're just going to become normal.
normal northern rivers
Hippies.
and like, you know, and also just stepping into that different lifestyle of ritual, temples, open relating.
Yeah,
all of that is shifting into that world, that community that operate from that space. I'm just so curious to know what that's like, because of majority of our friends here are just art focused, like music, painting, blah.
It's like that. What I think the difference is, like, in Sydney, there's no temple culture.
No temple culture.
There might be like quote unquote rituals, but sorry to say, oftentimes they don't really feel full of magic and connection. And I think we know the difference. Whereas if you're up in our communities up in Byron, it's temple culture.
Yes.
It's like fucking mystery, void, you know, fucking shamanic experiences, initiations, and all of that stuff. That's hard for us to find here in Sydney unless we're facilitating it. Sorry, not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry. You know, obviously Dancing Eros was here for a bit, but
everyone's gone.
They moved up to the Northern Rivers.
Exactly.
You know, and like currently from where Tim and I are operating our relationship, we want to eventually move open, and maybe that's the place that we do in Byron, where we create more experiences. But yeah, I'm curious about that shift, and you know, like where I'm doing a seamless transition here of just reading about Will Smith and Jada finally talking about their open relationship, and just, you know, what that does for that culture in the world for like an A-list celebrity and an A-list couple. To talk about we're in an open relationship, and they do model such a beautiful, healthy, loving family.
They've got that wholesome transmission.
You know, like Willow and Jaden, and I don't know their other kid's name, but the other one, the that's Michelle.
That's That's Will's kid from a different marriage.
Okay,
but yes.
yeah. Well, that one is the Michelle of of the Destiny Children.
Oh my god.
But you know, they seem like they turned out alright and love the parents, and they seem like a good family. And to talk about having an open relationship, I'm very curious to see what that does for culture and for society.
For mainstream society, yeah. Well, it's funny you should talk about that. So I've been talking to people again on Hinge.
Yes.
And I'm like in this place. I really want to talk about relationships. That's something I'm really actually very interested in right now, because I realize that I have no real words or labels to describe how I'm relating right now. So whenever people ask me, I'm just like, oh fuck, this is going to be really hard to describe, because I feel like it's not just open relationships. It's like I feel open in the way that it's like I have this like huge desire to find a person who is like my lifelong person who I create family with, and it's really healthy and really just the opposite of dysfunctional, you know, functional, but it's like really fucking healthy and really wholesome, and it's like happy family vibes. You know, I wanted that with you. I've wanted that with different people, and it's so elusive. And so I went the other way, and I was like, cool, like detach from that and just be open to exploring like whatever feels right with whoever. And now I'm like, when I'm talking to people, I don't really know what to say, because part of me is like, I'm still learning to get the language right. It's like, well, really, I'm open to anything and everything. Like, and how the fuck how do you define that? Someone today I was talking to, he was like, so what are you looking for? And I was like, well, I guess I really love intimacy and connection. It's like a high value, top priority for me. And I'm open to the ways that I can get that.
Yep.
But that's kind of fucking vague and ambiguous.
It's very vague. Yeah.
Because what I mean by that is, if I meet someone and that particular person makes me feel really like I have all the things that I need, and they want to enter into an exclusive partnership, I'm totally available for that. But I don't want to compromise. So if, let's say there's like 80% fulfillment and joy in that relationship, but there's 20% of something that I really want to experience. I don't want to have to be like, oh, but I can't have it because I'm with you. That for me feels like resentment. So I want to be able to have a free enough connection with somebody that I can always be fucking honest about what I want. And it's either like, cool, this is what I want. It's either you can grow to develop those skills and traits and I'm happy to work with you, or I can get it somewhere else. And I think that's confusing for a lot of people.
Of course.
It's really fucking confusing. And, like Beep always used to say, I won't say the person's name, but always used to say, you want to have your cake and eat it too. Like it was a bad thing. And I'd be like, of course I fucking want my cake and eat it too. Why else would I, what else like do I want to do? Of course I want everything that I can possibly have and dream of and desire. I want it.
That's such a like fascinating thing in my relationship right now. Is just like, right now Tim is just the whole cake, and I've just not had that before. And last night we're doing a manifestation clear on moving to the Northern Rivers and like getting all the channels clear on that. And in the purpose, I was like thinking, purpose is like moving up there and creating more temple culture and being around community, and Acacia being able to be in the bush and blah, 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 blah. It just came down to have a happy family home.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so vulnerable to say that.
I feel that.
I was like, I really, it felt like, because, journeying things around monogamy, also being in a queer relationship, like all this is still very new to me. And I felt like I was like copping out to an extent, like, oh, look at me just creating this white picket, like American dream, but it's not that, but it's that ability to have temple culture and all of this other things lead into also having like a happy family home. And that, I guess, draws me back to the Will and Jada of like, they, from the outside, I don't know, obviously they have shit come up, and I read a bit of his interview, but like, look at that. They have like an open relationship. They have beautiful children. They create epic art. They're so influential in the world. Like, that's to me what I want to create is like with Tim and with the people around me, is just like, I want a home base, and I want to go out and do all these things in the world and come home to you. And I want you to go out and do all the things that are important to you and come home to me.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I feel sad for Will and Jada in a way. Only because, I mean, obviously I don't know what the technicalities are of their relationship.
Yep.
But like when all the stuff came out about Jada's quote unquote affair with August.
Entanglement.
Entanglement. It was like there was so much shame and stigma around it. And I am assuming that they would roll in a lot of circles where that would be really taboo. And I don't know what agreements they had with each other. Not that it's fucking anybody's business anyway. But like, I just feel like I wish that all people who choose to relate in, non-traditional ways, if you will, like could feel safe enough to just own it and say it and just be like, yeah, we're in an open relationship. We're allowed to create any kind of relationship dynamic or structure that feels good for us and everybody involved. But it's like, they couldn't say that at the time.
No.
They had to like hide things, and there was like so many like awkward moments in the, the red table talk that they had to get. I was like, this is awful to watch.
Yeah. Well, it's just, you being an A-list celebrity, it's hard, like I'm even thinking about earlier episodes. I talked about wanting to have an OnlyFans. I have an OnlyFans now.
Hey, cheeky plug.
Yeah, cheeky plug. Follow my OnlyFans. Is like, as I want to grow, like, is that ever going to come and bite me in the ass? Like, I don't know if I'm open to being an A-list celebrity. It's not like my biggest desire at this current moment, but like, can that be detrimental, like, to my career? But, you know, at the same time, like, Tiger, he's not an A-list celebrity, but he's pretty big, and, like, he makes millions and millions and millions on OnlyFans.
Really?
You know?
I didn't know this.
Because he's got that.
Hectic.
He's got that. He's got the junk. You know. He's got a weapon on him.
Well, you know, like, even in 2019, when I was dating Beep, and we were in a relationship, it was a huge desire of mine to make porn. You know, I've had this desire for a long time, and I want to move more into the sexuality space.
Yes.
And offer services, and, you know, and really just dive into it. And it's funny, for me, the fear is not like, what if I get famous? Will people find out? Like, I don't care about that. I don't have shame about what I do, but what my big fear and contraction always is like my family and their reputation. My son, my parents, like, you know, if River goes to school and his friends are like, watched your mum's sex tape last night, like, I feel like I don't want to put him through that. It's already humiliating enough as it is, being my son. And then my parents as well, you know, as fucking great as they are, like, they are, you know, they're like the pastors of an Indonesian congregation. There's a lot of shame around the shit that I do, and it, you know, it's hard for them being my parents. I don't want to make it any harder. Yeah. Which is why I think moving away is going to be really good for me. Because you know, in a way, it's fucking shit to say this, but, you know, it's true. Is in a way I kind of feel like I am sort of waiting till they die before I can fully live my honest life. Yeah. Not that I want them to. Of course I don't want them to die, but it's like, as long as they're alive and I want to be in a healthy relationship with them, there are certain things that I just choose not to do.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I feel like a lot of that we've broken going up to Byron, because it's sort of like, obviously you don't live at home. Out of sight, out of mind. Yeah, you don't live at home, but it's sort of like Sydney is still home in a way, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, there's people, and that's social media as well, you know? What if they see something I post? It's still going through filters.
Yeah, that's like, you know, in some way, like a blessing that I have with my family. Like, they, like being a child, I had, to an extent, strict dad, mostly. And then severing from them at 16 and just doing whatever the fuck I want. And to the point where I came back like 8 years later, and they seen how much I had grown, and like knowing that I grew a lot without them doing what I wanted to do. And that like semi like, oh fuck, if we do anything wrong, he'll get the fuck out of here. There's always been that like this level of permission. My mum is pretty much all the way on board with anything I do. Sometimes she'll be like a bit of an eye-rolly message to me, and my dad is more like just don't talk about it with me.
Yeah, it's too much for me to listen to.
Yeah. I think my little brother updates him on sometimes on what I'm doing, and he's like, don't tell me, you know?
Yeah. I'd rather not know.
Yeah.
Man, yeah. I mean, thinking about open relating, Will and Jada, there's a really beautiful family that I follow on Instagram. I actually just joined, they have a mystery school that I just joined, signed up with, and it's called Psalms Mystery School. And it's a family, well, basically, if you want to follow Progressive Love Academy, I think I've shown you them before, but maybe. They've been open relating. So husband and wife, Kenya Stevens is the woman who runs Progressive Love Academy, and she teaches people how to open relate, and she has this whole system, and she's written books and everything. And her husband, Rakim, I think his name is, they're a black couple, and they live in, I can't remember what state in America. So they've been married for a while, like 20 plus years. They got grown kids and everything. And then I think 12 years ago, they started opening up their marriage. And now she has 2 husbands and a few boyfriends. Get it, girl. And then her first husband has another wife and some other lovers and girlfriends. And he teaches Tantra and stuff like that. And then her second husband also has, like, I don't know if he's got another wife, but he has other girlfriends as well. And so, like, her Instagram is just so fucking permission granting to just see how wholesome it can be. And their daughter, what is her name? Sanu, their daughter, is like 20 something years old, and she's also like an open relating love coach now as well,
Cool.
using the system that her parents
Wow.
invented.
Yeah.
It's fucking so inspiring. And one thing that she keeps saying in her post is like, this whole traditional exclusive monogamy, it's a product of colonization. It's partly, you know, fucking religion coming in and saying, well, it has to be this and it has to be this, and you have to have one man, one woman, blah blah blah. All of that binary stuff is very colonized way of thinking. It's very Eurocentric. Whereas if you look at a lot of African cultures, it's normal, like polygyny, you know, it's normal. Like in Nigeria, for example, it's so normal to have lots of wives or even to have like lots of husbands, which is rarely spoken about, but it actually does exist.
Yes.
And like, I'm just like, fuck yeah, hashtag goals.
Goals.
You know, that's what I want. I
Yeah.
just want 5 husbands to love me and adore the shit out of me and look after me.
Yeah.
Like living.
Yeah, sliving.
Sliving.
Yeah, I was saying this to you a few weeks ago about like this is really perks my interest. I would love to do a course. Is like, yeah, from someone that lived in open relating for so long, the idea of monogamy was so uncomfortable to me.
I remember when you looked at me, you were like, I can't be monogamous.
Yeah. And then now that I'm in a monogamous relationship, I'm like, oh, the idea of open relating is so uncomfortable to me.
Yeah,
you know?
well, that's how I felt when we were together. I was like, oh,
But
no.
overall, like, because of, in a certain extent, I still consider our relationship an open relationship, but we're just doing monogamy at this moment.
Yes.
And whether it ends up, you know, I think currently where we're at is like, we want to have experiences with others, but we don't really want to be dating other people. We're not looking for additional husbands and wives.
Yeah.
And who knows what changes in the future, but yeah, I really feel excited about doing some courses around that and actually just getting some really good foundations, some really good principles, and really good agreements and communication skills. It's like,
Yes.
like I've done this Wild West and I've done monogamy Wild West before. Now I'm doing conscious monogamy.
You should definitely check out Progressive Love Academy.
Yeah.
They're dope.
And then I want to go into like, a conscious, open relating experience that feels exciting to me. It also feels scary, but like in the like actuality of it, but like in my soul, in my heart, it's like, that's what I want. I want just full permission for us both to really explore what we need and have that foundation of knowing we love each other.
I think that's the thing. There's like a big misconception because it's not spoken about that open relationship means you can fuck whoever you want.
No.
It's so
You
like,
keep going, just go toilet.
Go for it. Like to me, the openness is about, it's like it's not fixed. And when I say it's not fixed, it means your relationship gets to serve the desires and the intentions and the values of the people who are in that relationship. Like, if what serves the people in that relationship best is to be exclusive sexually, then cool, that's great. If that's what both parties feel they need and want, then that's fine. It can still be open because maybe it's like, we're exclusive sexually, we only sleep with each other, but we're allowed, and I hate that word allowed, but it's like, it's encouraged and supported to create really deep emotional bonds with friends. Like, I feel like I'm still in a long-term relationship with Paisley, even though we're not sexual, we're not romantic anymore. But we're still friends. You know, I share my deep, dark secrets. He helps me move through things. He's emotionally supportive. Now we live in the same house. And in a way, our relationship didn't really end. It just kind of transformed and took on a new shape. So it kind of feels like it's still open. And it's the same with Atlas. Yeah, like, we're not romantic, we're not sexual, but we're lifelong partners. It's somebody who I know will never, ever abandon me. And I feel the same toward him. And I think that's really important to me now, is to, I guess, live according to that value that love is more important to me than the form of the relationship. And love is more important to me than my idea of this person, and not trying to force people to become you know, the manifestation of everything that I need and want, and really honoring the person for who they are and creating a relationship that serves our desires and our needs. Yeah, that's to me the better definition of openness. It's not blanket permission to do whatever the fuck you want. And most people struggle to do open relating because they're fucking dishonest. And why are people dishonest? They're dishonest because they're afraid of the consequences of telling the truth. And they're afraid of the consequences of telling the truth because they've had a lot of experiences where they did tell the truth and they got punished for it. So if you want to practice open relating, the things that we need to deal with are, how can we move from a system of punishment and move to more a system of like active listening, active understanding, active like empathy, and creating a safe place for someone to come and tell the truth, you know, and to actually share how they feel with us. I went on a long ramble and a rant, but I'm glad you're back now.
Sweet. I'm going to just do a quick subject change then.
Let's go.
Let's go. New place. So what we've recently seen is Lil Nas X, the biggest run fucking ever, and his album's out now. But what I've been hearing on different blogs, different podcasts, people throwing out this speculation that Lil Nas X isn't gay.
Oh, that's interesting. Why would they say that?
Because so he comes, before he became a musician, before he became an artist for all the music, he had a big page that come off the back of, he was a crazy Nicki Minaj fan, and he got a big following from that, but also quite infamously known for trolling. Like, he's a big troll. He had a troll page that was also a Nicki Minaj fan page that grew really big, and then he switched into an artist. And people are speculating that he's a troll that's using like the gay agenda.
Oh my God.
And it's all coming off the back of when he won the award for, I think it might have been Best Music Video or whatever it was at the VMAs, and his first thing was, well, first of all, I'd like to thank the gay agenda. So everyone's been unpacking that, and like, is he trolling in the manner of like, I'm trolling the gay agenda, or am I trolling on the level of mastery that I actually have been using this gay agenda the whole time, you know?
I mean, fuck, like, there's so many problematic things with this argument, because one, like, who the fuck is the body or the organization that, you know, is qualified to legitimize your queerness and say, yes, you are actually gay. Oh, no, actually, you're not gay. You don't like penis enough, or like whatever these stupid things are. Like, obviously, the way that he's chosen to express himself artistically is queer as fuck. Yeah. I don't know whether he likes to suck dick. I've seen him make out with, you know, men on TV and stage and in his music videos. To me, that qualifies as fucking queer. Is it a show? Is it an act? Is it a performance? I mean, fuck, like, what isn't a show? What isn't an act? What isn't a performance? You know, that's what I would argue. And it's really interesting, like, again, make it all about me, because as we know, I'm the most narcissistic fucker in this world. As we figured
out in the last episode.
Like, I've been thinking a lot about my own queerness in the last few weeks, kind of just like this undertone. You know, I'm mostly attracted to men, and when I think about being in long-term relationships, I tend to be in long-term relationships with men, and I think it's actually because of trauma. I don't think it's my natural predisposition. Because when I think about like eating pussy or like being with a woman, that turns me on. But the relationships that I've had with women have primarily been sexual attraction based. And when I think about being in a long-term relationship with a woman, I feel icky because I'm like, drama. Yeah. I'm like, problems. I'm going to have to listen to their emotions.
You're going to have to deal with who you are in a relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah, or like, you know, what I've been exploring, because previously, before being in a proper relationship with Tim, a lot of my queerness was just based in sex. And yeah, now a lot of the work that I'm doing around queer relating is unraveling heteronormative projecting in my relationship. And that sounds like where you're at, is like the hetero being like, oh, well, if I'm going to be in a relationship, I'm going to be the masculine one. I'm going to be the man. I'm going to be the one that holds space, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because one of my first consensual sexual explorations was with a girl. This is in kindergarten.
Uh-huh.
I wrote about it recently on my Instagram. And that was like, we had so much fun just exploring each other's bodies, and I used to like host little masturbation circles for my kindergarten friends. This is fucked up. I remember the first time I found out there was some news story that popped on TV of this girl in Brazil who got pregnant at 8 or 7 or something like that. I don't know how the fuck that happened.
Uh-huh.
And I remember I found out and I ran to school and I was like, we have to stop masturbating because we could get pregnant soon. I was so panicked about it.
Wow.
And then, so Alicia just lived, I mean, whatever. She's never going to hear this podcast. Anyway, her name's Alicia. And she lived like 2 minutes walk from my house. Uh-huh. So we were just hanging out all the time. And then one day, her mum just picked her up and took her to Queensland. And they moved to Queensland.
Oh, so that's why you want to move to Queensland. She's
I'm
the
looking
one.
for Alicia.
She's the one. When I was 6 or 7, six. Me and my neighbor and the person across the road from me, we used to masturbate together as 6-year-olds. Like, I can't fully remember like if I was erect or anything like that, if that happened, but I definitely remember us like getting our dicks out and playing with them.
It's such a common thing, and it's such a normal thing for kids to do.
Yeah.
It's so like, man, the amount of people I talk to who have these same experiences,
uh-huh.
and then it's shamed. Uh-huh. Like, I don't think the issue is that when we're small, we have these sexual experiences. That's not innately traumatizing. Uh-huh. That's exploration. It's curiosity. Uh-huh. You don't have a blueprint at that stage for what's right and what's wrong. Uh-huh. What then makes it traumatic is uh-huh. when suddenly someone comes along and tells you that was wrong. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Someone comes along and tells you, actually, that's shameful, or that's sinful, or that was a violation. Uh-huh. I think, to me, I know that people are going to fight me on this, but I've had a lot of experiences that I didn't identify as violations at the time. And then later on, when someone else found out, they were like, or when I was doing research and the language around that situation was like, that's a violation, blah, 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 that's this, that's that. That was when I suddenly was like, oh, I've been traumatized now. Whereas up until that point, it wasn't an issue.
Trauma. Yeah. Lots of discussions are happening around, in this Lil Nas X run. He's been doing all of these live performances where he is highly sexualized, queer sexualization, gay homoline.
But if he was straight, would he actually be comfortable doing all of that stuff?
I don't know. But what... like I'm hearing in a lot of, again, podcasts, in a lot of blogs, reading, opinion pieces, is like everyone's all of a sudden like, the VMAs, the MTV Awards, this, that, and this, it's too sexualized all of a sudden. It's like, bro, I remember as a kid seeing fucking Madonna and Britney Spears fucking kiss and like all this, like sex has never been... not in music and in performances, but now that it's a queer man specifically, it's like all of a sudden having to be unpacked and talked about. Whether he is gay, and I don't believe this, but I also like to entertain it. Like, sure. I know a lot of people will be quite upset with him using queerness to get rich and whatever, but to me, I feel like regardless, even if he came out tomorrow as straight, the effect and the growth and the ways that it's sped up people acknowledging and accepting queer culture and queer people, I feel like the impact of that, regardless if he was queer or straight, it has been bulletproof in just the effect that it's had.
Oh, huge. I mean, his whole marketing campaign for that record was fucking bananas.
Yes.
It's so inspirational to see how unapologetic he is in, like, his expression, really.
Yeah.
But just, like, it's so narcissistic, but in the most beautiful way. Like I've just been loving watching his promo. It's fucking inspiring.
Yeah, he had a massive rollout.
Yeah.
Like a huge rollout.
The pregnancy shots, like, oh my god.
Oh, that was another thing that was coming up with him, the controversy. Not everyone, but lots of people were mad that he was doing a pregnancy shoot during what's going on in Texas and women not being able to be pregnant, blah, 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 blah.
Not being able to have
abortions. And it's like, how dare he do that? That's a taunt of women it's like, oh, shut the fuck up. Like, you just don't like Lil Nas X because he's so unapologetically queer that you have to find anything you can right now. All of a sudden you care. If majority of people did not care about that Texas thing, if it were like, but they found something to pick. Oh, Lil Nas X. Let's blame him, you know? It's his fault that this is all happening.
When I think about shit like I'm like, wow, that's really what you're going to dedicate your life to? It's like, I don't know, man. That shit pisses me off.
But it's unconscious action. It's like, I don't want to admit that I don't like his queerness. So it's like, oh, the VMAs are too over-sexualized now. Oh, this is upsetting to the Texas women, you know? Like, is it really that for you, though?
I mean, so many people are just afraid of their own queerness. Like, that's what I put it down to. And, you know, and the reason is because I've seen it time and time again. Like, you know, I know a person very close to me who's, like, got so much charge around pedophiles. Because, and I know why, you know, when I look at their history and what they've been through, it's like, it makes sense because, like, you have been through, like, those experiences. So if someone has a lot of charge toward queerness, like, a lot of charge, it's like, there's something in there that you're protecting because you wouldn't be acting this way if you were okay with it, you know. But if you feel like it's so dangerous and it's so immoral and it's so wrong and it's whatever, it's like, fucking mirror theory, bro. It's like, where is the queerness inside you that you are rejecting and despising and disgusted by? You know, what happened to you in your upbringing that made it so repulsive? And I, you know, I'm speaking from my personal experiences as well. For me, like, my dad is a fucking homophobe. It's just is what it is, you know. I love him. And I understand why he's homophobic. And at the same time, and it's like, I don't take it personally, except in the times that, you know, like there was a wedding that he was a celebrant of, right? I think I've told you the story. And maybe it was even my brother's wedding. It probably was my brother's wedding, and I was translating. So my dad delivers the service in Indonesian. I translate it to English for all the people in the audience who speak English. And he gets to this part in his sermon where he's like, my dad likes to tell jokes and think he's funny and stuff. I don't think he's funny, but he was like...
That's where you get it from.
That's where I get it from. Yeah. And then he was saying the whole like, oh, you know, God created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. And, you know, and I was just like... You having to translate all this stuff. I didn't. I just stopped. I was just like, there's no fucking way that I am going to translate this disgusting homophobic bullshit right now. So I just stood there, just quiet, and then when he finished his bullshit ramble, then I just continued translating. You know, that's my little moment of protest. But it's, like, that's the thing for me. From a very young age, I always knew I was queer, like, always knew. I was, like, attracted to women. Like, I had my first heartbreaks over women. And knowing that my dad is extremely homophobic and that's all sinful, it's like, well, Dad, there's parts of me that you will never ever get to know. You will never ever get to see because of your dogma.
Next, I want to go to.
No, you're
sex.
like, I don't care.
No, I do care, but I also want to make sure we are on point today in a different way. Is like,
let's do it.
Actually hitting topics and talking about things and not getting stuck in certain areas, because we both are really good at this. We could unpack anything forever because we love
except on mushrooms.
No, except for on mushrooms. Is sex education. Like, we just smashed the latest season of that, and I know like you had your purge
My cheat
afterwards,
session.
and then after that I had a big purge. But like they do a really great job at hitting so many different topics around race, around gender, around parenting,
Yeah.
around sex, and that is something that I feel like, yeah, so inspired by and just really hits me in the
Yes.
emotional chords.
It's so fucking well done. You know, the actors, the script writing is amazing. Except for one criticism that I have. And I think I spoke about this.
Yeah, I had the same thing of they just instantly put in they kiss once and put the condom on. Was that it?
No, but that's also hilarious. It's like, you know, they're marketing safe sex to the point where it's like, bro, the dude's not even hard yet. Like, and you're already opening the condom. What are you going to do with that thing? So yeah, there's that. No, but the criticism that I have is like, as progressive as it is, why is polyamory and open relating not even like explored as a possibility? There's so many love triangles, and I'm like looking at the love triangle between Raheem and Eric and Adam. And it's like I have to choose between this person or that person. And it's the same with Maeve and, oh my god,
Isaac.
Yeah,
and...
Maeve and Isaac and
what's the main kid's name?
Wow, that's
we don't know
hilarious
the
that
main
we
kid's
can't
name.
remember his name right now. Oh, no. I know what it is. Wait. Oates.
Otis.
Oates. Oatcake. Like, obviously, they don't have to choose polyamory, but, like, the feelings that the characters get when they love more than one person or when they're attracted to two people, it's like there's so much shame around it, so much stigma. Like, Maeve's so torn and she feels so bad. But it's like, why should you feel bad for having feelings for two people? Like, that's a missing conversation. And you would think that someone like, you know, Cal's so progressive and whatever, like this, but like, surely they should be aware that that is a valid relationship option.
Yeah, has the mum talked about it at all?
Right? She's a sex therapist. Like, come on.
Yeah, true. Fair enough. Like, there's definitely... like championing of the slut archetype. You know,
That's
in the early
definitely there.
episode, she was sleeping around a lot, and that was very championed.
I love that, but it's almost like you can only be a slut if you're single.
Yeah.
If you're single, then you can be a slut. But if you're in a relationship with
Nothing
someone...
about open relating.
Yeah.
Or maybe Will and Jada will come and give a...
Maybe in the next season.
Webinar. But yeah, maybe it's waiting for them to be a bit older. I don't know.
Maybe.
But yeah, I'm just letting everyone know that Adam Groff is my spirit gay
Oh
now.
my god, Adam Groff! I love him because he loves dogs. That's why you love him.
He loves dogs. He's gross. Like he's very like archetype wise. He's very still straight, gross,
He's straight
bogan guy. You know, like I'm like that's me. That's me. But then his heart gets broken.
Yeah. Oh, I feel for him. I really do. And then like, oh man, there's so much to that show. I feel like, you know, it would be really fun for us to do like little reenactments of the scenes in sex education.
We can do. We've also been watching RuPaul. We can do how they do the
RuPaul's version of sex education.
Yeah, no, but you know how they do the lip sync episode of another episode.
Yes, I want to do that.
Yeah, after we finished the season and we had your unpack, when we went to bed, I had a big unpack just around like just seeing the ways that the mom and dad of or stepdad Otis, like how they deal with him, and just you know the Maeve's mom at the end ends up making that like right choice of giving her the money. And obviously this is all fucking acting, you know, but it got me so hard in the heartstrings of like, oh, like. I had like me trying to draw blood out of a stone to get my dad to show any kind of vulnerability, to the point where I talked to him about vulnerability and he's like, what is this word you keep mentioning? I don't know what vulnerability is, and whatever with my mum, other kind of stuff, but like, yeah, I was just so upset. It's like, fuck, why do I have parents that just can't meet me in what I actually need? And like I've tried in so many different angles, and it feels like to an extent I'm the parent, you know?
Well, that is a very common issue that people face. Like, why was I fucking born to this family?
Yeah.
I don't belong here. That's been a struggle a lot of my life, is like, I feel like I was born into this really dysfunctional family and I'm not from here. I'm an alien. Like, nobody sees the world the way that I do. Why am I so different?
The lily of sex education.
Yeah, well, I'm like the rainbow alien sheep of the family, right? But you know what dropped in for me a few years ago, and it's changed everything for me? It's this little turnaround. I think I've shared it on this podcast before, but fuck it, it's valuable. I'll share it again. It's like, I think I was telling you about your dad, where it was like, we have this expectation that because I'm the child and the adult has been around longer for me, they should know better.
Yeah.
They should know what I need. They should know the right way to parent me. They should. There's all this expectation that we put on parents to love us in the way that we want them, which, if you want someone to love you in the way that works for you, that's called conditional love.
Yeah.
These are the conditions that I put on you, that you need to love me like this. It's not fucking unconditional, right? And for me, when I flipped it, I was like, well, what if actually my role and my purpose is to teach my parents how to love? If you've come into the world as a baby, you're fresh.
Yeah.
You haven't got 30 years of trauma behind you. You haven't got parents who fucked you up. You're still new. You're still fresh. You're still innocent. And what if actually it's a child's role or job? And I'm not saying this is truth. I'm saying it's a framework to flip things and see what changes. It's like, what if actually it was your job to love your parents unconditionally and to show them what innocence means and what like genuine care and love and like resilience and consistency is? If that was the case, would you have been successful or did you fail? Like, how many times did you break your parents' heart? How many times did you lie to them? Did you betray them? Did you talk shit about them? Did you tell them they were the worst parents in the world? How many times did you fucking point your finger? That's not unconditional love. So, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like, and that's something I tried for mostly with my dad. I tried so hard to just, like, be unconditional, keep showing up. And then eventually I realized, like, oh fuck, I'm so hurt with this relationship. Like, there's still that, like, what I need is still there, you know? And I tried to say, hey, these are some of the things I need for us. And, like, it's really hurting when I don't receive this. And just to be like, well, I think it's better if we just don't talk then, you know? Like,
It's heartbreaking.
you know, I've just tried to be unconditional with you for so long, and then when I bring one condition in, you're like, gotcha, you know?
And I get it. Like, I really fucking get it. But also as a parent, and I didn't know this until I became a parent, you know? And when you have your kids, you know, you'll start to, some things will start to drop in differently. But now that I have River, there have been so many times in River's life where I've reached out to him and he's chopped me. And I've been, hey, River, let's do this. Chop. No.
Yeah.
Hey, River, I really like chop, you know? And like so many ways that I wanted to connect with him, that I wanted to know him and tap in, and he's chopped me. Because he's a kid who's doing his thing, you know, or whatever, for whatever reason. And it gets to a point where you become heartbroken as a parent. You're like, wow, I love you more than anything, and you don't care about me. You don't care to ask me how I am, who I am. Like, children are so self-obsessed. Their whole world is about them, you know? And I mean, you know, River's a fucking pretty cool kid. I'm very lucky. But even still, you know, it's hurtful to be a parent. And I reflect on my relationship with my parents. Yeah, they fucking let me down a bunch. But also, I really hurt them. Like, quite brutally in many ways. And I didn't sometimes I did intend to hurt them, if I'm fucking honest.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because it was revenge and vengeance, and I thought they were the worst.
I think every person can relate to wanting to hurt their parents.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I believe that my parents never intentionally hurt me. I believe that they hurt me by ignorance.
Yes.
And from their own hurt, that they didn't have the tools or the resources to, like, work through. Like, my mum, for example, she does the fucking best she can. But emotionally, she's like a fucking stone sometimes.
Yeah.
You can't get through all of her heart walls to actually, like, every now and then you catch glimpses. Like when I told her I was moving to Queensland,
Yeah.
she had a moan,
Yeah,
I could feel her heart there. But most of the time she insulates and she's like a good time girl, like good vibes only. That's
Good vibes only.
Good vibes only,
Yeah.
It's like surface level. Anyway, I don't mean to invalidate anyone's pain around, family dynamics. And sometimes parents are really fucking toxic. And sometimes you need to cut them off. And, I didn't speak to my dad for 2-3 years because he was toxic.
Yeah.
And now only, through doing a lot of fucking personal development work, quantum clears, lots of processes, I now really am at the place where I don't hold any resentment toward my dad. I really don't. I'm just like, you fucking did your best.
Yeah.
Yeah, did your best.
Yeah. I'm working on that towards, as part, I'm still battling that, I think I'm just going to have to try again with dad, and it's going to have to be me that's, going to apologize and blah, blah, blah. I just know that's not going to happen from him. But my pride still says, no, it's him that, he's the one that said blah, to me.
I get
but,
it.
I'm coming around eventually, and I intend to see if I can go. I want to go see my mum before I leave, and then maybe go around and see my dad before I go up to Byron.
Yep.
We'll see.
Well, that's the thing, right? I just want to go back to your dad for a moment. I think it's totally valid to be hurt and to feel upset, but and maybe you don't have to, maybe you will never have the kind of relationship with him that you long for. That's a possibility. You may never have that. But do you have to hold a resentment in your heart? If you never speak to him again, can you just hold the energy of love and openness that if he did reach out, it would be fine and you would love him regardless, even though, because it's almost like if you reach out to apologize and spark the conversation again, it's maybe that will push him away. Maybe he's still not ready for it.
100%. Yeah, well, that, it's feeling into, how to create that space. Part of my upset as of recent was, when I didn't talk to him for 8 years, he didn't take up any thought in my mind or my heart. But then I opened back up to him, and in this time, it's constantly plaguing me, the thought of how do I make this work? I'm pissed off that I let him back in. How do I become friends with him? Blah blah blah. All the different ways, and for instance, how we opened back up, he was dating one of my best friend's mums, and she basically made him message me for my birthday 8 years later. And when we weren't talking, we stopped talking in, I think September, October, pretty much September last year. And then when I was getting closer and closer to my birthday, I was that little child in me is is he going to message me for my birthday and apologize? And I was waiting, and then it didn't happen. I was well, it was 2 days afterwards that time, so maybe nothing. I'm
it's painful.
It sucks that I sat there and I stayed open to receiving it and blah blah blah, but then I got let down. But I obviously it's not his duty to message me, but yeah, I'm getting there.
I feel you, man. It's ouch. It hurts.
Yeah.
I really get it. That's the worst. I think for me, maybe that with my folks, because I've moved to a place where I don't feel like I need them to show up for me any particular way. And because I've released the need, it's anything that they do, I can see it and appreciate it. But it was never like that. It took me a long time to get to this place. And I feel even say with exes, right? Because that's a big thing as well. When you're not over someone, they're over you, and you're and it happened with us as well. It's is he going to text me? Is he going to message me? And then the person doesn't. It's that fucking awful feeling. And then you feel like an idiot because you trusted that they would or whatever. It's there's so much self-harm that happens in that person is over there doing whatever the fuck they're doing, maybe not even thinking about you or whatever, and you're there hurting yourself with all of the hope and expectation and disappointment and the stories and then the meaning and all that stuff. Like, man, relating is really the fucking ultimate spiritual process.
100%. I think a lot of where the wound is at the moment of like wanting that connection is that like I have this special person in my life and I want to be able to show them like where I grew up, my family home, like the people that raised me, get a bit more context to who I am, you know, and to also for them to go like, to show that like my parents, like look who I'm really happy with, and just not really having access to that at the moment is shitty, you know, because it's like I have so many stories of you meeting them and beep and beep meeting them over the last 3 years.
Yeah.
But then it's like, and then now just things are just more sticky than ever again. And it's like, oh, but I also have this really beautiful relationship. I want to go down. You know, there's been obviously other blocks with what's going on in the world, but yeah, that's sort of where it's at. I need to pee again. I feel like, can we do final thoughts?
No, go pee.
Well, we've done an hour.
Oh, true. Okay, but we haven't finished all the things.
That's all right. We don't need to do all the topics.
True. Oh, we did pretty well today. I think we stayed on topic quite well. I think we did pretty well. Final thoughts. Fuck. Do you have final thoughts?
My final thoughts is... I think like a lot of my energy is towards this moving out of Sydney and like just creating new in this time that feels like I've been stuck in such a cycle with what's going on in the world. So like my final thoughts is things are always shifting and growing and expanding. Like these things that we've talked about is like moving north, positive, and all the positives that come from that. We talked about Will Smith and Jada and just how the world is expanding and open relating is now happening in A-list celebrities. We've talked about sex education and all of the what it brings to the world. We talk about Lil Nas X and all that changes. And there's obviously negatives in that, in all of them, and the things that are sacrificed and that have to be speculated. And you know, even with my parents, we're talking about, and your parents is like, in this time, like find things that make you feel happy and make you feel positive and bring that framework into your life. And that's something that's so important for me, you know, like not spending too much. One of our last episodes, we were giving things like, stop listening to so much sad music, stop scrolling all the time, blah, blah, blah. But like, really finding the things that make you happy and breaking that comfort zone. Yeah.
I love that. My final thoughts are similar, I guess. It's cliche, but like embrace the unknown.
Yes.
Embrace the chaos. I think a lot of times we make decisions because we want to feel safe. You know, I'm doing this because I want to feel safe. And the idea that the world owes you safety is complete bullshit. It doesn't. I look at nature and life and the qualities of life is that there's no fucking safety in life. It's all unknown. It's all chaos. And yet in the chaos, there is a divine order. So for me to navigate the world, and what I'm encouraging for you to do is, the more dangerous you become in the way you approach your life, the more safety you will get as a reward, because you realize that safety is not outside. Safety is in yourself and how much you trust yourself and how much you trust life to really be for you. And like, we are so fucking capable of so much more than we give ourselves credit for. But the way that we can tap into like that flow state is by trusting yourself that you can thrive in the unknown, in the chaos. So say yes to the scary things.
Yeah, say yes to the scary things. And even if you feel, so we can hold that reality with you. When you let us know what you needed today, also let us know what the thing is that you're gonna do that feels like uncomfortable, that's going into the unknown. Message it to one of us, both of us, on the comments, and we'll champion you. You know, we'll cheer you on. Please do that. But yes, like, subscribe, share, do all the things, but let us know what you needed today, and let us know what you're inspired to do that's uncomfortable, that is going into the unknown, that is going to be expansive for you.
Yeah, hell yeah. Fuck yeah. Let's do it, fam. We're here for you. We back you in your expansion.
Get it. Get it, girl.
Get it, girl.